We're going to call to order the Narragansett Town Council regular meeting. Today is April 17th, 2023, and the time is 7 p.m. Let's rise for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moving on, next on the agenda is the approval of the March 20th, 2023 regular meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
There is one vote in there that we need to have changed. Janet, there's one vote that you have a 5-0 vote, and Steve and I did not vote for the license for the casino. I think it says 5-0.
That was not the March 20th meeting. That was the 4-3 meeting.
Okay, my apologies,
Yep.
thank you.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
The second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. Next on the agenda, we have announcements, presentations. First up is our town manager's update. Mr. Tierney.
Mostly this week, the entire week has been spent budget preparation or meetings with the council and the public for work sessions on the budget. Some other items that you'll notice there's some barriers up around the Aqua Blue Hotel down the Pier Marketplace. The barriers were installed in that area, and a municipal court summons was issued for violations to the exterior, and an abundance of caution, we blocked off the sidewalk there until the violations can be corrected and made safe. The beach, as you know, was very well attended this week with the beautiful weather, and no public safety issues were reported. Parks and Rec swiftly cleaned up after the busy days, and we moved forward. The Town Council had directed us to move forward with short-term rental registration and reach out to Granicus and to DeSisto Law. We have done that, and we're just awaiting some responses and some proposals for that. So we'll be standing by as far as that goes. Also, the council directed us to research dog park locations. We have begun doing that. We've made a few visits with the team consisting of Parks and Recs Director Michelle Kershaw, DPW Steve Dano, Park and Recs Joe Harvey, and Glenn Blacklock from Engineering, myself. So we will be soon presenting that to the council as an official response back to that request. Fire Department, Chief Partington is planning on traveling to Washington, D.C. this week for one day, a congressional visit with our delegates. One of the items up that Senator Reid has sponsored is the Fire Station Act and some other grant programs, and he will be meeting with the congressional district down there. And if the Fire Station Act passes, we have every intention of applying for it. The Narragansett Historical Cemetery Commission announced that they will be having a cleanup at the Green Canyon Cemetery at the intersection of Green Canyon Driftway and Ed A. Lane on Saturday, May 20th at 10 a.m. We'll put this on the website and announce it at the next meeting as well. And that is about it. Thank you.
Okay, next is the bike study, the bike path study.
It's a very limited update in the sense that what's been done late last year and early this year, we've used town tax data to compile a map of possible routes, which we'll be putting together and sharing with the council in the very near future. And we've assembled databases of public-owned land in the nearby area that may be suitable for this. Most of the off-road sites were impacted by wetlands and ruled pretty much not suitable. But currently, they're working on some options for on-road routes, looking at rights-of-way, road widths, trafficking, and parking. There's one section that we're looking at behind Canachet Farm that we're trying to see if we can determine the history of it, to see if it was an actual transit area, and if it was, that could weigh in our favor at trying to get that. But we have not been able to determine that that was a road at some point, or for transit, for cargo, or anything like that. But we continue to work on it, and when we get some of the maps of the possible routes together, we will provide them to the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving along to the consent agenda. Do any members wish to remove any of the consent agenda items, or do you want to approve as is? Do I have a motion?
I was going to make a motion to accept it, but do you have something that you wanted to pull?
Yeah, I'd like to pull off number 4 and number 10. Just have some questions.
Any other council
Council
members?
President? Council President,
Yes.
open forum?
Oh, sorry about that. Okay, we're actually, I meant to, okay, we're going to have open forum first before we move on to consent agenda. Apologize for that. So the open forum public comment is a time for any member of the public to speak on a topic not on the meeting agenda. A sign-in sheet is available to members of the public who wish to speak during open forum public comment and located at the table in the back of the council chambers. Speakers will be called in the order as they appear on the sign-in sheet before open forum public comment is closed. Members of the public who did not sign up will be given the chance to speak. Speaking in a meeting during open forum public comment is limited to 3 minutes. Speakers are required to state their name and address before speaking and are expected to conduct themselves in an orderly and respectful fashion. The comments of citizens accessing this portion of the meeting are neither adopted nor endorsed by the body, but heard as requested. Mr. Tierney, do we have the sign-up?
3 names on the list right now. First one is a Ronald Garassi.
Okay, Mr. Ronald Garazzi. Please state your name and address.
My name is Ron, 166 Gibson Avenue. I just wanted to bring the council's attention to a couple of situations that I think need addressing. Be paving on South Pier Road and on Kinney Avenue. And the only reason I've never attended a meeting, I'm here tonight because last week I almost got hit head-on on Kinney Avenue. On the curve where the walking path goes off, as I was headed from Gibson toward Point Judith Road, someone came around the curve on my side of the road, and I had to ditch into the woods in order to not be hit head-on. There's 2 sections there that are potholes and hot patch, which they've been throwing hot patch down for years, which does nothing. It's 2 small sections. I think it could be remedied fairly easily. Cut the road, repave it. That would solve that situation. I've stopped using South Pier Road because it's so bad. And if anybody follows someone down South Pier Road, it looks like they're drunk because everybody's trying to avoid all the bad pavement. That's it, folks. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next,
The second one on the list is Stanley Wojciechowski.
Mr. Wojciechowski.
Stan Wojciechowski, Boston Neck Road. I got a notice here, median list price in Rhode Island, $579,000. Medium list price in Massachusetts, $789,000. So obviously, people being priced out of homes is not just a town problem. This is everywhere. And I don't know what government can do to control who buys what, how to eliminate some homes so they could be cheap. I just don't see any solution there. What I really want to talk about is the registration list. I look at the list, over $300,000. That means after 3 years, we've assigned $1 million for the rental registration list. Obviously, it's not working, because now we're looking at ordinances. Doesn't work. And Councilman Fernandez, you really pointed out it's noise and parking issues are the biggest things that we're dealing with. It's not a rental problem, it's a noise and parking problem. And if we had made the fines appropriate, fines are too low, $500. $500 is like 50 cents to these college kids. They're very rich. I mean, the fines are wrong. It doesn't work. You see, when you park and get $50, $60 fine, that doesn't work either. People don't mind paying that. Well, same thing on this noise thing. Obviously, what we need to do is we need to increase the fines until it does work. You make the fines high enough so it works. Help out the police. I mean, they can go out and stop a guy 10 times. You don't care. But I heard that you can't do that, it's state regulated or whatever. So cost recovery. We need to implement police action cost recovery. I don't want to pay for police to go out there and supervise the people who are maybe drunk, disorderly, whatever the issue is. Taxpayer, I don't want to go out and pay for that. They should be paying for the police action required.
Thank you, Mr.
So
Wachakowski.
let's look at $1,000 per stop, per action taken by the police, per person to fix the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list, Mr. Terry.
Mr. Stephen Richards.
Please state your name and address.
My name is Stephen Richards, 91 Inez Street in Narragansett. Approximately a year and a half ago, there was a bunch of pickleball players who signed.
Mr. Richards, we have pickleball on the agenda.
That's not the issue.
It's the expansion,
No.
right?
Oh, no, well, I don't know what I mean.
So when we have the public comment, it's about anything that's not on the agenda. You're welcome to speak.
I'm not talking about the lining of the courts. I'm talking about new courts and fixing, there's not in the budget. So I'm talking about things that we came here to talk about because they're not in any way or shape or form, 1 penny set aside for pickleball for next year in the budget. And that's what I'm here to talk about, not the lining of the courts. I will be here to talk about the lining of the courts at that time. What I'm talking about now is the fact that after a year and a half of trying to get some pickleball courts built in Narragansett, and we've been working with the town Parks and Recreation people for a year and a half, met with them several times. They have not included not a penny for anything, and the pickleball courts that are down there on Clark Road right now are in abysmal shape. The parking lots are in terrible shape, and the courts are in terrible shape, and there is no money to deal with that. There's no money to deal with new courts. There's no money for anything. So my point is that after trying to get something included in the budget, we don't have anything in the budget, and I'm going to obviously bring it up when the budget time comes as well. So but I want everybody to understand I'm here to make this point, and I'm going to continue to try to make the point until we get pickleball courts, because we're not. There's hundreds and hundreds of pickleball players who live in Narragansett, and they're getting nothing. Really, they're getting a couple of courts lined. That's very nice. We appreciate that, and I'll talk about that later on. But I appreciate the fact that for now, for this budget, there's nothing that's being done, and I think that's a real travesty, and doesn't show well for the people down at the Parks and Recreation Department who we've been trying to work with, and they've provided nothing for us, and so that's a big disappointment to the hundreds of people who use Clark Road. And so the fact that the Clark Road is in bad shape, the parking lot's in bad shape, the fact that we don't get anything to really help out the problems with pickleball, and pickleball is a people don't understand this. And I know that, they say, well, we've asked for 10 courts, which we'll talk about later on in the budget. We've asked for 10 courts, we budgeted it all out, we had a plan, we submitted the plan to the town council, we submitted the plan to the Parks and Recreation people months and months and months ago. So it's the same plan that I gave to you, we've given to the town, to the Parks and Recreation people quite a while ago. And our goal is to try to get something done for next year, and we're hoping that the council will pay attention to our goals because it's a very important issue. It's not something that's not important. I know my
Thank you,
time is up.
Mr. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, appreciate it.
Council President, may I say something in response?
This isn't really a back and forth, but sure.
No, if you don't want me to,
Oh,
I won't.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to, I was on the phone today with Melissa Burdick, who is one of the owners of Adventureland, and I asked her permission, knowing that pickleball was going to be on the topic today, if I could make an announcement for her tonight. Adventureland also owns the roller rink, and they are in the process right now of putting in 8 pickleball courts with the goal of having this done by the fall of this year. So, Mr. Richards, there is a private industry in the town. The town has been working on it. I was in a meeting with Council President, Town Manager, Mark Davis, our Parks and Rec Director, along with the individual, Melissa Reddick at Adventureland, to talk about the town potentially having some involvement. And unfortunately, she did not want to sell the roller rink to us, not that we had the ability to buy it at the time. But the good news is that she is working to develop courts there with the end goal of having it done for this fall. 8 indoor courts with potential having others outside. We did mention to her, especially Michelle, because Michelle has such a great need for inside basketball as well for the leagues and young kids in town. So we did mention to her that there is also that need, and she is working with whoever will be renting to be able to create, hopefully, both the pickleball as well as the basketball need. So your need will be done. It hasn't been ignored. The Parks and Rec Department was on this phone call and was hoping that we could have a private partnership, and that's what they're doing. They're stepping up.
Thank you. So there's 3 individuals that signed up. Mr. Vandermeesh, would you like to come up for public comment? Mr. Vandermeesh?
Yeah. My name is Richard Vandermeesh at 55 Osceola. I'm on the Town Finance Committee. The Narragansett Town Finance Committee did again express its concerns about the financial viability of our wastewater group of accounts at the Wednesday budget hearing. We remain convinced that we are in a serious crisis situation. The many reasons for this crisis can't be explained in 3 minutes tonight or in about 15 minutes last Wednesday. Now, I realize the topic of government accounting is only useful to about everybody in Narragansett as an instant sleeping pill. I think Mark could, my former student, Mark might testify to that. But we need a 2.5-hour tutorial on our wastewater group of accounts. Hopefully Mark Abrams, when he's back, and I could do this if we were guaranteed some sort of an interested audience. I'd like to end with the words of that 1950s song, which I guess probably you might have heard of. Wake up, little Susie, wake up. And her boyfriend said, wake up, little Susie, we're in trouble deep. We're in trouble deep. Wake up, little Susie. And if we don't wake up about our wastewater group of accounts very quickly, the problem is not only a need to raise the rates, there are many other problems there that very few people understand, and I doubt anybody really cares but Mark Abrams and myself.
Thank you. Is anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Ma'am? Please state your name and address.
Hi, Nancy Richards, 91 Inez Street. I think it's a wonderful idea that someone's going to form a new business venture in Narragansett, and I hope they're very successful. But it doesn't have anything to do with the town and the facilities that we have now. I think it's great, but it'll be something you have to pay for. It'll be a club membership. There will be all sorts of fees. The wonderful thing about pickleball now is you can just show up anytime, and there are no charges. So it makes it a wonderful thing for people who are just starting, for people who have little income, and I don't see that this will benefit what we have already. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Okay, seeing no one else, we'll move back to our agenda. Going back to the consent agenda, I believe Councilor Ferrandi wanted to remove 4 and 10, separate those from the consent agenda. Do any other council members wish to remove any other agenda items to discuss separately?
No.
Okay, so with that being said, motion to approve the consent agenda without 4 and 10.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion by Councilor Cecilia Bonanno, seconded by Councilor Lawler. Motion passes 5-0. Next up, from the consent agenda, we'll discuss agenda item 4, which is a motion to approve, ratify, and confirm the contract amendment with HBM Architects LLC for additional architectural engineering services for the library project in the amount of $4,480. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second for discussion.
Yeah, okay. Discussion from council members and Councilor Ferrandi.
Yes, thank you, Eva. The question I had on this one, I understand the whole situation about exploring the possibility of, solar energy at the library. But when I go a little bit further, it says it's for $4,800 to check the roof out. There's a second part to this, and it says, if necessary, pending the result of step 1. So I guess that would mean if it's a go or if it's not a go. It says something else here about prepare the design and document of reinforcing the existing roof structure. So I would assume that was going to be another agenda item. But I just want to make sure there's no issues with solar energy and all that. I realize that, it's a good potential, could be a good potential, there's all kinds of deals out there. But, I just want to make sure that the council is updated, to the next steps of even exploring it if it's not really part of the original library. Maybe a great idea and all that. I just want to make sure there's transparency that, if we start going down this road, whatever it is, $4,800 really isn't that much money, but as you get further into this. So I don't know, Jim, if I could, maybe you could keep us abreast on what's going on with the next step of this possibly. I'm assuming it would have to be another change order to discuss what's...
Well, this one is simply to evaluate whether or not the roof can sustain it as they
Right.
pursue other options to, if it is selected to be done, they want to be able to see if the roof can withstand it. And I'll continue to provide the council with the monthly change orders, both add and subtract, and we see the orders that are rapidly approved so as to not impact the construction.
Right, but it also says that there is necessary for step 1, there'll be another service request. So I just want to make sure that we don't get too far ahead of it before the council at least is aware of what's going on.
We'll keep you abreast.
And, and the library people also, if they could keep us informed, it'd be appreciated.
Thank you. Any other comments, discussion from the council members? Okay. Okay, all in favor? Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? I'm sorry?
Aye.
Okay. Motion by Councilor Ferrandi, second by Councilor Cecilia Bonanno. Motion passes 5-0. Next, from the consent agenda, it's 10, which is a motion to approve a Class F alcoholic beverage license for Narragansett Casino LLC, 11 Pier Marketplace, Narragansett, Rhode Island, for the University of Rhode Island award ceremony to be held on April 21st, 2023, subject to state and local regulations.
Vote
Have a
motion.
I'll second for discussion.
So is Council Ferrandi was the first? Okay. Okay. Discussion from the council. Council Ferrandi?
Yeah, this one, I know there was some question on the parking. I'm finding out today that the license was granted. I guess there's, enough parking for the 300. I didn't really get a lot of the details, but if that's available, I'd like it eventually. So this would actually be a new business in town, and this would be, I believe, I'm assuming this would be the first event with a potential of, I believe there's at least 300 capacity in there, in that building with everything. And I see, University of Rhode Island Awards Night. I just wanted to make sure if there was, the applicants are ready with, some sort of a parking plan if needed, or, if the servers are all tip processed and all that. Because, I mean, this is the first event, and, if everything goes right, you'll have 300 people there, great, but you know what I mean, it's going to be a lot of people in that area. First event, I just want to make sure that, everything's ready, if the police were notified and all that, and the fire. Any kind of a comfort level you can give the people in that neighborhood, just in case.
Can I make a comment?
Sorry, I
first?
have a comment from the council.
Yeah, we have a number of organizations that come here and serve alcohol or whatever, which is what this is about, for, single-day events at Veterans Park. There's, we have a ton of them. And we've never really talked about the parking. And a lot of those happen in the middle of the summer when there's a huge, difficulty with parking. So I'm just not sure what that has to do with anything, really.
Well, I think what I'm getting at, it's a first event of a new location that's been closed for a very long time. And maybe some of the other events, the Kinney Bungalow and whatnot, there's already a track record. So that's the only reason why. I just wanted to make sure that all the ducks in a row for it.
Okay.
That's all.
Any other comments from the council? Discussion?
Thank you.
I do. I have one question. Janet, in the packet, we received an application, and it was from Ms. Kelly, one-page application. I know we are just approved 2 other one-day liquor licenses, one for the Lions Club and one for the South County Museum, and they have a track record with us in the past. Is there any other information provided as far as tips or any other, who will be providing the alcohol or serving the alcohol that was along with this? Is this the only piece of information we have? The application itself?
That is the only piece of that we receive, is that application.
So were you expecting more, or
No.
is that just typical, that's what you receive?
That's all we require for Class F.
So Janet, that's standard practice. What they submitted is what you require, one paper, correct?
That is correct.
Thanks.
Unless the solicitor wants to comment.
Okay, just to clarify, this is a one-day license, so I'll have our solicitor, Mark Davis, do you have a comment or just explain that?
Well, I think the practice should be consistent. So whatever is required for Class F licenses for one party, it should be required for all. So Janet has said that the practice has been to accept the one-page application. State law does require alcohol only be served by tip-certified servers, but it doesn't appear that things that are required in the state law are expressly stated in our application. But anybody serving alcohol would be foolish, in my opinion, not to have tip-certified people serving alcohol. But the practice is the practice. I don't think we're going to rewrite that practice for one party tonight. it's something that I'd be happy to sit down and take a look at with Janet, going forward, how that application may be changed or enhanced. But the practice is the practice at this point.
Thank you. Okay. Actually, the time is now 7:30, so we just have to kind of change gears right now and go to the public hearing part of the meeting. So next up on the agenda is a motion to reschedule the public hearing to amend the text of Section 5.5 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett entitled Zoning for the purpose of adding a new historic district zone, 170 Clark Road, the camp. And the scheduling of this date would be June 5th, 2023. So I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, so going back to our consent agenda. So we have any other questions or comments from the council regarding the Class F alcoholic beverage license for Narragansett Casino?
So if I may,
Sure.
I do believe there are things that are required by the state that perhaps we should be going forward ensuring compliance with. And one is this general statement that control procedures that will be in place to prevent underage drinking, excessive drinking, all related to tip certification. And it goes on. So there are things required by state law that the parties assume responsibility for, but we're not necessarily, I'm looking in the application, requiring them to put forth how they're going to comply with those specific requirements. So the requirements exist. The fact that we are not necessarily requiring them to put them on an application doesn't negate the requirement. But perhaps that's something that we may want to incorporate in our application going forward.
So
Thank you.
I have
Councilor
another, I
Kopek.
have another comment.
Sure.
And even though we didn't talk about this one in the consent agenda, the one just above it is a Lions Club event that is asking for the exact same thing, has the exact same information. And I don't really want this to be an issue, but I know that there are people who serve, at the Lions Club's events who probably are not tip certified. So,
We're trying to be really strict about
Is everybody-
that. Yeah, I mean, we're all
Yeah.
tip certified.
are you?
Yeah, anybody
Cool.
that does the taps
Good.
is tip certified.
All right. Well, the fact of the matter is, this is the exact same document, above the one that we're looking at right now, so. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other
Sure, it's the
discussion
same.
comments? Anyone from the public wishing to speak on that? Mr. Doherty?
Thank you, Madam President. Patrick Doherty, I represent Beachcomber Properties LLC, the owner of the property. I've been here before, and I feel like I'm just screaming to the high heavens with no one listening. As a matter of law, you can't grant this license, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. I'm going to point you directly to the state regulation that controls your granting or denial of this license here tonight. First off, I think it's unconscionable that licenses were issued when they did, and which business licenses were issued when you said that they had to comply with local and state regulations. We're still dealing with the zoning official on the parking constraints on this property. There's only 91 spaces that have not been dedicated now as a result of Trio, the library, and the liquor store. And those 91 spaces are not open to Narragansett Casino. They're in the sole discretion of the landlord, my client, Beachcomber Properties LLC. It's in the deeded declaration of restrictions and covenants and conditions. This application is deficient on its face. Number one, what are we going to give them a license for 5,000 people to be there? There's no numbers here. They're not telling you what the expected crowd is going to be. But leave that alone for a second, all right? asked where your liquor license regulations are posted. And I made a specific call to the town clerk's office and set aside the fact that every time I make an inquiry now, since I've been involved in this case, I'm required to file an APRA request right now. And for 30 years practicing in the state of Rhode Island, a municipal law, I think it's a disgrace that an attorney for a property owner can't just ask for a copy of an application for a license that's granted on his own property to have to be delayed by an APRA request. That's unconscionable. Let me get back to what we have here. We have on your website the application portal for the liquor store. You are referred to the Department of Business Regulation liquor licensing statutes or regulations. 1.4.12, Class F, F1, and F2, 19-hour licenses, the ones we're here on today, require, and this is mandatory language, and I'm reading to you verbatim out of the regulations that you've adopted as your own and that you cannot deviate from because they're the State Liquor Control Commissioner's regulations. No such license shall be issued without satisfactory evidence that proper health and safety precautions have been taken with regard to the use of such license, including but not limited to evidence of adequate police control or protection, satisfactory sanitary and health facilities on the premises, control procedures that will be in place to prevent underage drinking and excessive drinking by any individual or individuals frequenting the special event. You've been trampling on my client's property rights and his rights of contract with the previous leaseholder on here. You are on notice that we're not going to take it anymore. We're not going to sit down. You're ignoring the truth. We've presented evidence in the face of the lies that are brought forth by the applicant. You cannot grant this license as a matter of law right now. And we'll be at DBR flipping that in a heartbeat if you choose to unwisely do this. Enough is enough.
Thank you,
Protect
Mr.
and preserve
Doherty.
all your memos, your emails, your interoffice calls, your interoffice memos, because there will be litigation forthcoming if this this license is granted.
Thank you, Mr. Doherty. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Mr. Hallberg?
Hi, Scott Hallberg. I am the owner of the property. Obviously in litigation on other matters, contractual matters with this applicant, but I'm going to wait for the courts to decide that. But it just seems prudent to me that this council should wait for the outcome before granting a license to these folks. Why not just wait for the court decision? Seems logical to me. And if the court makes a decision, we'll live with it. One thing's for certain is I own that parking lot. That's my parking lot. I have the right to alter, modify, delete at my sole discretion. It's not at this applicant's discretion of which parking or what parking they feel that they have. It's my discretion. It's right. It's recorded in the land evidence records. So, and another concern is the liability. I don't know how many people are going to be there Friday night. I have other tenants in the building with restaurants. Where are they going to park? Existing people in there today. It just doesn't seem to make sense to me. Please consider my property rights when you're making your decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hallberg. Anyone else? Ms. Kelly?
I do want to just draw your attention to, as Deb Kopeck said, you just approved 2 licenses specifically the same way. We will comply to all state and local laws as everyone else does who applies for this. And as far as the parking for this event, the students are being bussed in, so there will be no parking problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Davis, any final thoughts or just based on Mr. Doherty's comments?
I was actually, reading from the regulation that when I was suggesting that we maybe modify our application. So there is a requirement that people receiving these licenses comply with those. The language does say shall. But we've had a practice, and at this point, I think it'd be prudent to take a step back after this is done and with post haste and modify the application so that there is no question about what is required and that it's uniformly applied. And I don't think there's anything else to say at this point.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so with that being said, all in favor?
I just have one more
Oh,
comment.
sorry. Sure.
Thanks, Mark, and the applicants. This wasn't meant to single out anyone, believe me. It wasn't meant to single out one particular one. This is just about the process of what the council, in my opinion, and transparency should be doing when they, it's a one-day license here, it's a one-day license here. I know it's the Lions Club. We all know that everybody's going to do the right thing. But, just as a process in the council, to have it documented correctly, maybe it's a little extra step for some of the staff to come up with a form letter or whatever, and maybe give a few more details on it, but I really don't see anything wrong with that. And maybe that's a good thing that'll come out of it in the future. And if there's something listed about the type of an event, if there are parking issues, it all comes out there and then, or at least the staff's able to take a look at it. And if, sometimes things are complicated. It seems like it's a little, one person says, okay, I have the parking, the other one says I doesn't. I mean, it's not 1969 when Mr. Gilbane had owned that whole lot on its own. He kind of refereed the parking, refereed with the tenants. It's all changed in that particular area. Now, maybe that doesn't mean anything at this point. We're just going to continue with the same. It just, in a town that's changing, it's just, to me, good practice to be looking into some of these things to kind of get them right from the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you. Because my feelings are just being consistent with all the licenses that we approve. This is a license that we've approved in the past for other organizations, and Ms. Kelly did satisfy the fact that there won't be any parking issues if the students are being bused in, so it's not going to be taking up the parking spot. So I'm satisfied with that answer. Anyone else wishing to comment before we vote on it? Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, motion by Councilor Ferrandi, second by Councilor Sicilian Barano. Motion passes 3-2. Okay. Next up on for old business, we have motion number 11, which is a motion to approve a change order addendum as requested by the vendor to Article 8.1, subsection B of the miscellaneous road construction 2021 contract awarded to T. Miozzi Incorporated, now LLC, to allow for price adjustments commencing during the COVID-19 pandemic and the continuing cost of inflation.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
No. Oh, just one second, okay. Okay. So this motion was being put on because at the last, one of the last council meetings, we had stated that we were going to continue it. With that being said, there is, the vendor is legally bound to the contract and has also stated that he would honor the contract. So this was just, we did review the information that we had requested. Personally, my feelings are that the risk to the town would be pretty great to this versus, trying to have a courtesy to the vendor and would set a precedent, as Councilor Kopech had stated last time, just setting a precedent for vendors coming back with for changes in a contract that was awarded. Do any council members have any comments?
Is there someone here to walk through what?
Well, this is just pretty much an up or down votes for,
But
are we?
there's changes, right?
There's some more information, Jim.
Yeah. I'd just like to, it's a little bit.
Sure, we'll have Mr. Tierney discuss this.
That would be useful.
The document they have before you gives the percent changes that they weren't prepared to present them to the council. They weren't on the agenda soon. They weren't ready for the agenda at that point. But it is a significant increase over some items that the contract did not have an escalator clause for. And as I said at the last meeting when this was up, this was a courtesy to the company who requested the opportunity to present it to the town council. And you are correct that they said they would be bound by the contract. You are correct about that, and it was simply brought to the attention of the council at their request because of the increase. But they are bound by their contract that they're in right now.
But did they modify anything from the last time they were here? That's what I'm not sure about. I thought they did. I didn't
We had
compare
looked
it
at
to the
some of
last
this
one.
ahead of time because it wasn't on the agenda yet.
Oh.
So I'm trying to match the numbers again.
So should we table this until we have that information?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, again, it's being brought to us to address whether or not we're going to make changes to the contract that was bid out and approved as stated. I'm ready to vote on, but if everyone needs more
I'm just
time.
not clear on, one of the reasons we sent it back the last time was to see if they could get us some more detailed information, as I recall, and to explain to us if they could, modify the numbers that they had. And I can't tell if they did or they didn't is my problem. There's a lot of information here, but I really would like somebody to just explain it to me. So, and I'd really like to, I know we should probably get this done, but.
So is your interest more in getting the information, or, if you
I just
had
want
more-
to be clear on what the final, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you. But I just want to be clear that, what we're looking at compared to what we were looking at a month and a half ago.
Right, we didn't have a dollar figure, so we were hoping to get more of, like, what is the ask?
We didn't have a dollar figure before either, just for the,
Isn't that what we asked for?
it was a breakdown for the parts, what each item would cost, but not for the projects. What they proposed.
Oh, no, right.
What they propose here in the attachment, they have the current estimated price, the proposed estimated price and a change, and it lists Phase 3B1, then for different areas, and it gives the percentage increase of each job, and it ranges from 6% all the way up to 16 and change % increase, for an increase of about almost $500,000.
Yeah, so that's the amount, so about $500,000. So, and I am sympathetic to the vendor, but there was no escalator clause, and it was an executed contract for the numbers that are in the contract. And again, the vendor did say that they would, they know that they're legally bound to the contract, and they also said that they would adhere to the terms of the contract and honor it. Councilor Ferrandi?
Thank you, Eva. Was the applicant asked, did he know it was going to be on? Was he asked to be here tonight at all, to kind of go over what the changes were or what the adjustment was?
I would table it, sounds like people.
Oh, he's here.
Just table it. Do you want to make them? Okay. Well, let him
I'd
speak.
like to make a motion to table it unless we can get the information.
He's here, Susan, he might be able to.
If you could give us the information you're all looking for, come on up and do that. If not, you sound like we're struggling, and we should table it to get more information. So let's see if it's satisfactory.
Manager for T. Miozzi. Last time we were asked to provide a breakdown of the streets, giving what the current contract unit prices were, what the proposed adjusted prices were, and how that all shook out for the town. We did that from Phase 3B1. Steve and his team was good enough to give us the list of streets, so we proposed the estimates. As you can see, when we talked last time, it was projected that it was somewhere in the 25 to 30% range increase. This averages out for the town to about 12%. So it's broken out by street, by project, and the blended rates by the contract.
You ladies satisfied?
Page 1 of the agenda item.
That's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm satisfied.
Simple enough.
Okay, any more discussion? Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this? Mr. Lynch?
Dennis Lynch, 22 Central Street. I just, as a member of the audience with the agenda in front of them that has no numbers, no percentages, can someone just say what the amount, the new dollar amount is? If the council were to approve this, what is the new incremental dollar amount that you would be providing to this vendor? Estimate.
Mr. Tierney, I think it was like 500,000.
Approximately 485,000.
He did say that.
But for, just to put it in perspective, the original estimated price was about 3.9 million, and it goes up to 4.4 million.
Deb, it's hard to hear your mic. Are you on low?
Really? How about that?
There you go.
Okay.
Say that again.
I said the original estimated price was about $3.9 million for several different projects, and the proposed estimated price now is 4.4 million, which is, you know, the about 400,000 I think that Jim mentioned, which is it says a 12.3% increase over what the original estimate was.
And that's where the 12% is? That's all in there?
Yeah, yes. It's on page 3 of the detail, if you want to see it.
Are you satisfied?
Well, I'm satisfied that I know the answer, yeah.
I tend to have to agree with the council president. This could set a precedent for vendors coming back, and I sympathize, I do. I mean, everyone's business has been hit in COVID, but our responsibility is to the taxpayer in town.
Any other comments from the council?
I mean, I don't entirely agree with that. We know for sure that the price of everything has increased. The original contract was a few years ago, right? That we put in here, it's a 3-year contract, I think, or 4? About halfway through it now. We've found over and over again, we've seen it in our budget this year, that, you know, things that cost X before cost X times, you know, times 50% or 100%, it depends. So I'm not opposed to the idea of this happening. I think it's unprecedented, but it hopefully, and it better be, you know, a once-in-a-lifetime situation. So going forward, what we're going to see is more, you know, that any contracts we do are going to be more expensive as long as, you know, prices go up. So
Correct, it'll be rebid, but again, when you have contracts and you're putting a contract out as a vendor, you need to put those escalator clauses in it, and that's the important piece, and unfortunately, there wasn't any in place.
no, we never had a pandemic before either.
No, but they always put escalator clauses. It's like a standard part of a contract, so. Is any, okay.
Just have one observation. So these are the increases from what I can gather of just the products and the material that went up. And I looked at it a little bit line by line, and maybe if I can get an answer on this. Some of these roads, maybe they're longer roads, but I'm looking at, well, Envine Estates drainage. I started kind of going through it, looking at line by line, and the flag persons end up being, I guess I'm looking at 78.49, maybe that's the per dollar amount. I don't know if that's the police details or just the flag persons, but they vary in percentage of cost of the whole road. Like the flag persons, if you add up those two, it's $190,000 out of $1.1 million for the road. It's like 16% of the total cost of the project. Now, that could be, you know, maybe that's a reality today, but some range 10% on one. I'm wondering if, you know, maybe there's room in some of the original, you know, obviously everything didn't go up. So, you know, why is there variation in the flag persons? Or just such a disparity sometimes?
Please,
The flag person is, we're not asking for a change on that. That's the unit
Right.
price in there. The flag person is an hourly rate based on flaggers for traffic control if we cannot provide police detail for those roads. So it all depends on the length of the road. So if we're on a project for a week, you only have a week's worth of flaggers. If we're out there for 4 or 5 weeks, then it comes up that way. So
And these aren't police, these are not police
that's
details?
not police details, that's private flagging staff that we have to have.
All right. That explains somewhat of the variance, so.
Okay, so do the council members want to table this? Do you want to vote on it? I'm ready to vote on this. I think it's, but if somebody on the council would like to change the motion.
I threw that out there, but I'm ready to vote too. I just didn't know if the ladies to my left.
Yeah, I'm ready.
It was good.
Okay, yeah. So again, this is a motion to approve the change order, which is resulting in almost a $500,000 increase to the town. All in favor?
Aye.
No, you're approving the change order for, so everybody wants to approve the change order for $500,000? Yeah, the motion, so,
I do not wish to.
yeah, so all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No. Okay, so the motion passes 3-2. Motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Kopech. Motion passes 3-2. Okay, next is moving on to new business. I would like to pull agenda number 29, which is the motion to reappoint 4 individuals to the Towers Committee for a 3-year term to expire on October 1st, 2025. We've recently received some new applications, so I would like to pull that and look at that agenda item going forward in the future. So the next up on the agenda is, in new business, is a motion, is coming from the Finance Committee, and it is a motion to award the bid for fire protection services to the lowest bidder, Encore Fire Protection, at their quoted bid prices, hourly rates, and markup for parts materials for a 3-year period ending March 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion from the council? Anyone from the public wishing to speak? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Kopech. Motion passes 5-0. Next up from the fire department is a motion to approve the purchase of 32 portable radios, 8 mobile radios, 2 base stations, and related accessories for the fire department from Motorola Solutions Incorporated pursuant to the State of Rhode Island master price agreement in the total amount of $330,451.38.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion from the council? Anyone from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Kopech. Motion passes 5-0. Next up from the Public Works Department is a motion to adopt a proclamation recognizing Arbor Day 2023 and the importance of trees in Narragansett.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I will just read this proclamation. Town of Narragansett 2023 Arbor Day Proclamation. Whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, lowering our heating costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our town increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, the Town Council of the Town of Narragansett does hereby proclaim April 28th, 2023 as Arbor Day in the Town of Narragansett and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. Thank you. I'm sorry, I should have approved it. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, sorry. Motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Kopek, passes 5-0. Next up, from the Information Technology Department, is a motion to approve the purchase of network video recorder hardware from Zones LLC in the amount of $9,022 and NVR software from Shanix Technology Incorporated in the amount of $8,447.66 for a total of $17,469.66.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion from the council? Anyone from the public wishing to comment? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, seconded by Councilor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. Next up from the Engineering Department is a motion to award the bid for power washing of Point Judith and Kinney Avenue water tanks to the lowest bidder, Wet Power Wash Solutions, in the amount of $32,000.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion from the council?
Just really glad this is going to happen.
Anyone from the public? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, seconded by Councilor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. Next up from the Community Development Department, we have a motion to waive the required debt-to-income ratio for a pending community septic system loan in Narragansett and authorize the town manager to sign a letter to Rhode Island Housing after town solicitor review.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion from the council? Anyone from the public?
We saw this before, right? This one?
No, this is a different
We've had
one.
others before.
Oh, I thought it was this
Yeah,
one.
that's different. Any questions? Anyone from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. Next up from the Parks and Recreation Department is a motion to approve the lining of existing basketball and tennis courts in town for added pickleball play and the purchase of paint, 6 portable pickleball nets, and 3 storage containers in the amount of $5,302.94.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion from the council?
Does this leave any, are these portable?
Yeah.
Michelle?
Yes.
Okay. So does this leave any, still leaves available,
You can still play
basketball
tennis
courts
and basketball,
without the
yes.
Yep.
Just to draw the line in, so you have the option of
There's
using.
a picture
Okay.
that shows.
Any other comments from the council? Does anyone from the public wish to speak on this item? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. Next is a motion to approve the construction of a new third base dugout at Sprague Park Baseball Field to be completed by Abcor Restoration Company Incorporated in the amount of $24,640, utilizing the general construction services contract.
I'll move the motion.
A second.
Any discussion?
Just 32 years for one dugout's pretty good, so this is good.
I'll say.
Anyone from the public?
I've been in some of those dugouts.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion by Councilor Cecilian Bonanno, seconded by Councilor Lawler. Motion passes 5-0. Next is a motion to approve the 2023 contract agreement for the 46th annual concert on the beach with the Rhode Island Philharmonic Orchestra in the amount of $24,500 and authorize the town manager to sign the contract after review by the town solicitor.
So
I'll move
moved.
the motion.
Nope, Susan's going to move it, I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion from the council? Anyone from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion by Councilor Cecilian Bonanno, seconded by Councilor Lawler. Motion passes 5-0. Next up is a motion to approve the 2023 contract agreement for production support services with Bill Brackett Theatrical Productions, LLC, for the 46th Annual Concert on the Beach in the amount of $13,504, and authorize the town manager to sign the contract after review by the town solicitor.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Any discussion from the council? Anyone from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion by Councilor Siciliano Bonanno, seconded by Councilor Lawler. Motion passes 5-0. Next is a motion to approve the purchase and installation of 450 linear feet of 8-foot black vinyl chain link fence for the playground at Little Sprague Park from Costco LLC in the amount of $31,243, utilizing the State of Rhode Island Master Price Agreement.
I'll move the motion.
Second?
Any discussion from the council? Anyone from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion by Councilor Siciliano Bonanno, seconded by Councilor Kopech. Motion passes 5-0. Next up is a motion to award the bid for shoreline adaptation inventory and design project 95 Middlebridge Road to the lowest bidder, DeCenzo Incorporated, in the amount of $266,775.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion from the council?
Just want to mention that of that, $218,000 is from RIDEM. So the cost to the town is $48,695, of which a portion of it's coming out of the, if I'm not mistaken, it's coming out of the Land Trust Fund, I think. Is that right? I think that's right.
That's the Middlebridge Recreation Operating Account and grounds maintenance.
Which is,
Yeah,
oh, okay, all right.
part of that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone from the public? Oh, Mr. Wojciechowski?
Stan Wachowski, West Neck Road, Narragansett. I just curious on what this 266,000 project is. I know we're down to low numbers, but I just curiosity. What are we doing? Is this something that's going to result in a multi-million-dollar project or something that we're going to be looking at? What are we doing? Just curious.
Mr. Tierney, do you want to comment on that?
The project down there, it's a major construction of the driveway improvements in the area consistent with the coastal resiliency rehab of that whole district, and that's why the grants have all been applicable to that. I do not have handy the graphic of it, but I can make that available to everyone later.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to comment? Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Kopech. Motion passes 5-0. Next up from the Town Council is a motion to direct the Town Manager and Director of Parks and Recreation to reach a long-term memorandum of understanding agreement with the Town of South Kingstown for Narragansett Seniors Use South Kingstown Senior Center.
So moved.
Second?
Would you like to?
Yes,
discuss
please.
this? This is coming from President Pro Tem Jill Lawler.
Thank you. Yes, I put this on. For years, the town has had a handshake agreement with our sister town next to us, South Kingstown, for the senior center use. There's never been anything in writing. It came up recently on the appropriations, special appropriations, and I thought it fitting that we ask our town manager to meet with the South Kingstown town manager to be able to develop a long-term understanding agreement between the two towns. We saw from the finance director last week during budget that we're looking at increasing in our tax base because we simply need more dollars. We're not bringing in as much as we're putting out. And shared services are certainly an area where both towns could lean on each other and the taxpayers benefit. I want to make one point, though, really clear about this motion and the motion following. It has nothing to do with the current senior center that we have. We have an employee there, Karen Flint, who does a wonderful job. She probably knows every single person that walks into the senior center by their first name. and they perform some fantastic services. This is in addition to that, so this will complement the current Narragansett Senior Center, so I'm not asking for any changes to that whatsoever. But our seniors do use the senior center at South Kingstown, so I think it's about time that we have a formal agreement between the two towns so that every year, come a special appropriation, we don't need to receive a request from them as we do from the other, the charity organizations that are asking. So that's my rationale behind it. I don't know, Jim, if you had anything you wanted to, or any of the council?
An MOU between any municipalities or businesses that you have is always a good idea. In the past, that hasn't one existed, but I've sat with Mr. Manny and myself have discussed this already, along with some members of the council and some people that work for the town of South Kingstown and here in Narragansett. So we can certainly do that.
So I have a question. If you draft the MOU, does that come to the town council for approval first before anything is completed?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other council members have questions? No. Anyone from the public? Mr. Manny.
My name is James Manny. I'm the South Kingstown Town Manager. Thank you very much, Madam President, for allowing me to speak tonight, and to the council as well. Thank you. The reason we're here tonight is to discuss, as Mr. Tierney stated, we do have a handshake agreement between the South Kingston and Narragansett, where Narragansett paid a fair share amount based on the percentage of our Narragansett residents that attended and fulfilled, different programs at the South Kingston Senior Center, which was about 1/3. It's always averaged 1/3, no matter which way you looked at it. The last year, there was a cut in the amount of funding, which is one of the reasons we're here tonight. And it cut the fair share agreement from $101,000 ask by town of South Kingston to a $55,000 offer by town of Narragansett. So that has never been done before, and that's one of the issues we wanted to address. But also,
Mr. Manny, I'm just going to redirect you. So this is just the agenda item for MOU. You can, I haven't gotten to the next agenda item is the one with the dollar amounts that we can discuss. So this is just specifically if you want to speak on the MOU.
okay, thank you. Sorry about that. So the discussion for this right here is for the fair. It's been a handshake, as Mr. Tierney stated, for as long as anyone can remember, and we're respectfully asking that the town of South Kingstown, town of Narragansett work together, come up with an MOU based on the percentage of the amount of usage by the town of Narragansett and on the total number that come to South Kingston. And I'll address this after the next agenda item.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. That's okay. Thanks. Okay. This agenda item is for the memorandum of understanding. Any other comments? We have another agenda item coming up for the amounts. So, Ms. Shepshalowitz.
Karen Shepshalowitz, 63 Wanda Street, Narragansett. I think the senior center in Narragansett has made leaps and bounds of improvements over the last year. They've started an eating program where they have lunch Monday through Friday, and it's just a wonderful program. It's building community within the town. I think the emerging pattern is trying to bring more Narragansett residents to the Narragansett Senior Center. In the past, we didn't offer meals, and the only people that could get over there were the ones that had cars. So I know this overlaps with the next item, but I think as a senior, it's much more important to build the senior community here in Narragansett and just not look at the way things have been done in the past, look towards the future. We have a rising senior population. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak on this? Okay, seeing none. Okay, so this is for the MOU. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion by Councilor Lawler, seconded by Councilor Kopek. Motion passes 5-0. Next is a motion to reconsider the South Kingstown appropriation budget request for the 2023 to 2023 budget for the senior center.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Councilor Lawler.
So I bring this today with abundance amount of respect for the counselors who were on the council last year that made a tough decision, as we do every year when we have to approve budgets. But this one, I'm hoping that we can reconsider because it is actually affecting a population that we must lift up, not have opportunities for, and that is the seniors of Narragansett. As Town Manager Manny has just stated, that the appropriation request for a little bit more than $101,000 from Narragansett received from South Kingstown, the former council funded $55,000, so it left them at a shortage of about $41,859,000. And this is for programs that have already been spent. So it is our sister community. We have many different shared services with them right now, police, fire, and shared services, as I stated earlier, I really believe will be a cost savings for our community, for their community going forward. My concern with this, having been in the meeting that Mr. Tierney referenced, is if we do not fund this program to a level point of our 31% of the people that go to the South Kingstown Center are Narragansett residents, what will that mean for our residents? Will the seniors potentially need to pay more? What long-term effects, what other effects may it have with the community next to us? So I want to bring this forward and see, is there something that we can do to make this program whole and going forward, making sure that there is no gap in service for our seniors. I know that South Kingstown, from the meeting that I attended, didn't expect for there to be a shortage because we'd always had the handshaking agreement between the two towns, which is why I'm asking for an understanding agreement to be signed. So that being said, I'm open up, hoping that others in the council will share their thoughts.
Any questions or discussion from council members? Any council members wishing?
Yeah, I have a
Councilor
couple of
Kopek?
comments. I think one of the reasons that we decreased the number last year was because of the fact, it's kind of like what Karen was talking about, that we have done a great deal of work to improve our own senior facilities in Narragansett. Certainly, we're not at 100%. My problem is, it's kind of like the problem I always have, and that is that I don't have the data to tell me what makes the most sense. I appreciate Mr. Manny coming. I appreciate the data that he has provided, but I think we need something from Narragansett too to make sure that what we're doing is logical, and whether or not it's something that's temporary, if we're expanding our facilities for seniors. I completely agree with Jill with regard to ensuring that our seniors have, the opportunity to obtain community, to obtain, certain kinds of healthy experiences, and wherever they can get them. That's really, really important. But I'd just like to see, I'd like to see, I'd love to see, we know that we didn't have the facilities, 5 years ago, and then we updated the community center and the opportunities for the seniors here in Narragansett, and I don't know what the difference is in terms of that compared to, folks going to South Kingstown. I do know, anecdotally, from people I talk to, I am also a senior, and so I have friends who are seniors, and that there are people from South Kingstown who come to Narragansett for exercise classes, et cetera, that are generally free. So I think that we just need to look at this a little bit more carefully. I'm not opposed to the idea of increasing the amount, and if 31% is the number that makes sense, I just want to see it from the other side, from our perspective. And I know we looked at this about 8 months ago, a little bit, and we had some reservations at that time. So I would really like to see some concrete information.
Okay,
Go ahead,
thank you.
Councilor Brandy.
I think, you know, since we're in a transition with this, you know, we have 31% of our elderly going to the South Kingston one. It's a little different facility, it's a little more modern, there's nothing wrong with ours. And, you know, maybe the goal is to get to our senior center. You know, we're getting up to speed now, but I think at this point, you're gonna be not giving them options. You know, at some point, if they all want to come to the Narragansett one, fine, then maybe the percentage would go down at the South Kingston one. So during the kind of, as a transition program here, we're already going to have the memorandum of understanding. And I think if we cut it off now, we're gonna be limiting our seniors for options, and I'm not for that. Thank you.
Any other comments from the council?
I have one question. I don't know if this is one to comment first. So the remaining money, the $41,000 that Jim or Chris, that was not directed toward the senior center in South Kingstown, was that redirected to our senior center? Or did it go back to the general fund? General fund. So there was no increase to our senior center whatsoever. And I know the food program is a federally funded food program, and so the food doesn't matter. It's all free. Okay, thank you.
So
Councilor Cicilline-Bonan.
I'm not opposed to it either. I just want to make sure, I mean, what is the plan for Narragansett? And when you work on the memorandum of agreement, are we going to have a smaller program and they're going to be the go-to program? I mean, we've got to define, we have grown and we've added to the senior center, we have in Narragansett, but we still use South Kingston. And I think we have to think about what our goals are for Narragansett moving forward. I'll give it this time, but I think moving forward, we have to kind of see, are we trying to grow it in Narragansett, or are they always going to be in the lead and we're going to support them? We kind of have to define that, because we've been growing and we've been supporting South Kingston for a long time. But if we're changing gears and we're now going to do our own thing, we've added meal programs and we're doing all these things, then maybe in the future we don't give them as much. So this time I'll do it because we're in transition, and we obviously don't want it to impact negatively to the seniors, and we certainly want to help South Kingston. We've worked together a long time, but I think we need to be clearer about what both of us are doing on that front.
Can I make one other
Go ahead,
comment?
sorry.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I mean, the other thing that we have to look at is what services we are providing and what programs we have, and whether they mirror what's happening in South Kingstown or not. I mean, if we're going to do this, it makes sense for us to decide, you know, what's happening in Narragansett and what's happening in South Kingstown, so that we're not just copying each other either. That could be problematic as well.
Maybe offer different things,
Needs a
right?
little work.
Okay,
We need
so-
a bus, too.
Sure. So I'll offer my comments. So I was on the council last time along with Councilors Cicilline-Bonan and Councilors Kopech, and we discussed this. We didn't move it forward. Thank you, Councilor Lawler, for putting this on. I do support seniors having the program. I think we're pretty much into our budget session. It's not something that I wouldn't want to look at going forward, but I think right now bringing it just as we're trying to finalize the budget isn't the most prudent at this time. And the data that I reviewed, it's different from this. I know last time when we were talking about the meals were, obviously federally funded. So the amount seems like it had a separate line item for that, and this one just seems like the increase of those of that. And I just would like to see more data. I'm not ready to support increasing it at this time.
So this will be going back just to really level funding it from what we've had in the past. I don't know, have you, I think you have. Have you, anyone else taken the opportunity to go to the senior center in South Kingston and take a tour? Deb?
I've been.
It's very, very different. And we have to remember our senior center is also our community center. It serves many purposes for us. So if we were to go ahead and duplicate what South Kingstown has, it would cost an incredible amount of money. We'd have to bond out for a facility. So I really think the shared services is something that we need to look at. It sounds like everybody's in agreement that we're going to talk about an agreement between the two towns. And it's a good question to ask, what are we going to be trying to shift our seniors to this program? But if you go online, you take a look at the South Kingstown website for their senior center, they offer very different programs, but consistent programs every single day. We do have some of the same type programs, but but it's a very different population, I would say, that attends the center. So I know that, now we have 3 council members from South Kingstown as well as the town manager. So.
All right, so, sorry, I'm going to go to Mr. Tierney. If you have any thoughts on this or from your perspective on this.
Yeah, I would be interested to know because we were in a different place maybe 8 months ago from the town, so we always care what the staff has to say, right? So I'd be interested.
Thank you. The previous town council, 3 of which are seated now, was presented with a letter from the town of South Kingstown from the then town manager requesting special appropriations. And one of those appropriations was specifically identified as the meal program. And in that request was also stating that the town of Narragansett, they're aware of the fact that the town of Narragansett now has a plan and it may be revisited. It was presented to the town council to show that we had adopted a plan and that we made the recommendation to the council, the staff, and myself as far as the meal portion goes, because we had that program in place, which we don't pay for the meals. Our staff was able to handle it. And I invited then the town manager to speak to the council in a work session, which she did. Terry Murphy came in and spoke to the entire town council about it. And the same item was brought up and discussed with the council. That one item was listed on the original request as meals. And that is, I believe, why the council chose to eliminate that at that time. Since that period of time, we've had multiple meetings with South Kingstown officials, members of the council, the town manager, their staff, same with us here. And is a proposal to revisit that and to appropriate it now. But the council made the decision based on the information that was requested from the town of South Kingstown in writing, giving the columns. This column is for meals, and that's what was provided to the council specifically.
Any questions from the council? Anyone from the public? Mr. Manny, I'll let you speak now on this item.
My name is Jim Manny. I'm the South Kingstown Town Manager. Once again, thank you for allowing me to come up. Hopefully I have some answers to your questions. Many of us have been to that senior center. We've all seen how beautiful that place is. It looks like a ski chalet inside, but that's really not what it's all about. The services it provides are numerous, and I'll go over some of them. Veterans benefits counseling, Medicare counseling, cancer, caregiving support groups, visiting nurse, pre-retirement planning, a nutrition program, which you are correct, and I'll go over that in a minute, that it is provided by the federal government at no cost. Info referrals, what is that? Someone comes in with no money, they need a boiler, they have staff there to help locate much needed needs for whatever resident, non-resident, resident that comes in with those needs. And URI partnerships, classes on kinesiology, history, language. The operations of the senior center are such. The program costs us $729,000. We subtract $149,000 for transportation, which is not available to Narragansett residents. We subtract $140,000 for the nutrition program. We subtract $20,000 for the adult daycare. The nutrition program is provided free to the town of South Kingstown. The only difference between Narragansett and South Kingstown is they're served by, I guess you can call them waiters, and they're on plates, silverware, and so forth, and cleaned up and bussed. So this leaves a fair share, after all the grants, fund balance, everything that we share equally with Narragansett, to $300,000, $318,000 as the fair share, 1/3. 5,745 seniors go to that senior center. 3,501 are South Kingston residents, 1,503 are Narragansett residents, 741 are non-residents, and they're charged a different rate. The cost, after all these things are broken down, is $63 per senior per year, unlimited use of that place. Just to give you a comparison, we have another shared service, the animal shelter. Between South Kingston and Narragansett, we have 200 dogs and cats that go there, and it costs us $1,300 a year just for one dog and one cat. $63 for a senior is a very good deal. Whatever your decision tonight, South Kingston will never turn away a senior. But we need your help to keep this high level of dedicated senior services there. We want to preserve this partnership. South Kingston's options are very limited. You asked a specific question. If you choose not to fund that fair amount from that year, either South Kingston taxpayers have to absorb that cost, or the Narragansett residents, we have to move them to non-resident status where their cost will go up. The reality is, even if we did that, this wouldn't cover the deficit the high level of service to all seniors could suffer. I'm respectfully asking this council to refund that $46,000. Quite honestly, I think it's all a big misunderstanding, to be speaking plain English. I understand where the town manager and the Narragansett Council came from last year. I really do. Because that nutrition is free to us, but we have a big cost to serve it. But take that out of it. That's not what I'm concerned about. It's that shared cost, that fair share cost. That was the actual amount, $101,000. If they termed it a nutrition item or whatever, it shouldn't have been put like that. That's the fair share cost. And what I promise you is this senior center will continue to give this high level of service to all the residents. Narragansett South Kingston is treated exactly the same at that senior center. That's something we should all be proud of. You couldn't duplicate that. That's a tremendous amount of money. So I respectfully ask that you consider this, and I'm sorry I went over your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for the public? Mr. Wojciechowski, did you have your hand up?
Stan Wojciechowski, Boston Neck Road, Narragansett. I guess if our people are using it, we should be paying for it. You know, I guess as long as you get the data to prove that we're using it, that's contrary to what I'd normally do. Hey, I don't want to pay for what I don't have to pay. However, you know, what's fair is fair. They're eating, or whatever they're doing over there, they're happier there than here, so they're staying there. So we're actually creating a happier environment because that's where they're staying and continue to go. So as long as his data is right, I'm sure it is. The other side of it is if we have to spend $500,000 to change our center to equal theirs, that's a concern, all right? As you try to grab those people, bring them back here, oh, we're going to offer this, why should two places offer the same thing? You know, get in the car, go down there, hear what they've got, the doc, whatever they do. If anything, there should be a consolidation, but I'm not going to knock off because the senior center here is so good. I don't want to say that. However, we should pay them for what they're providing. It's actually saving us some money that we might have to spend on our community center when we don't have to. Thank you.
Mr. Richard?
Getting stiff and old, so if I'm moving slow. My name's Stephen Richards, 91 Narragansett Street. Do we know how many seniors from, on a daily basis use the facilities in Narragansett? Does anybody know the number?
This isn't really a question and answer session. This is like whether you support
Well, no, but
this
it's an
agenda
answer
item.
question because that makes a point. I mean, we have to spend money. How many people are using the facility to justify the money? How many people from Narragansett are using it on a daily basis? Do we know?
I think there was a number that was stated by Mr. Manning.
1,500 people, I guess, per week use South Kingstown. Is that per week? And so you're saying roughly how many people in Narragansett go over South Kingston on a daily basis?
Yeah.
Anyway, so the point is that, when you're spending money, you have to understand the basis. So the basis is how many people are using, because there are lots of seniors who play pickleball. There are lots of seniors who use this. You seem to be very interested, and I'm all 100% for it, so I'm not against this at all. I'm just saying, I just want to have an idea how many seniors use these facilities, because if you're bifurcating seniors and saying, well, they need exercise, they need this, they need that, they need food services, they need all these other services, and they probably do. So I'm just trying to find out, do we know how many Narragansett seniors use our facility every day? Do we know how many seniors use South Kingston every day? And how do we justify those expenditures to understand how those apply to each facility? I think that's something you should know if you're going to make a decision about spending money and where you spend it. So it's an analysis that you have to understand to figure out the balance between the two.
Thank you.
Madam President, can I just make a comment?
Sure.
So the motion in front of us, we don't have any backup behind it, so it is making it difficult. So what that gentleman just said would be helpful in making the decision. I pretty much support it, but I kind of wanted that information, Jill, and it's a motion, but there's absolutely no data. There's no information for us. We had it from the town manager maybe 8 months ago, but today we're in a different place, and so it is hard, and I'm, in my mind, going back and forth because I want to support South Kingston. They've been good friends and partners with us, but we have nothing in the packet on that.
Understood, but you had it in front of you last year. You're a member of the council last year.
Yeah, we did, yes.
Okay. Ms. Shep-Shalowitz?
Karen Chapcho at 63 Wanda Street. One big unmet need is the need for transportation for seniors. There's an increasing number of people using walkers, increasing number, including myself, that don't drive. And it's very isolating. South Kingstown has a bus that brings you, I don't know, around town, does shopping, goes to CVS. Narragansett has one 19-and-a-half-hour bus driver. And it's been a known unmet need for many years. And Jill, if you want to propose giving $100,000 to South Kingstown, why aren't you proposing to give us a full-time bus driver to bring us to appointments, to CVS in Wakefield, the stores in Wakefield? It's really very isolating when you can't get there. And it's really very, very difficult for seniors. And I just can't understand why you just offer to give it to South Kingstown when we have unmet needs with the senior program here. And of course, it's been COVID over the last few years, so some of the data is probably skewed. But I remember even when Mr. Manny was appointed to Narragansett Town Council, he said one of the first things he was going to look into was the transportation. That has not happened. And I don't understand why we have a parking lot full of school buses. Why, I don't know, why the town manager can't work out some sort of cooperative agreement, maybe with the school department. We're one community, and they're losing students, and we're gaining seniors. And they have a whole bunch of buses and minibuses, and what, are you throwing the seniors out with the dishwater?
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Mr. Lynch?
Dennis Lynch, 22 Central Street. Thank you for the attendance for the representatives from South Kingston. So, Mr. Manny, even your sins from your past position here, continue with you. I guess that a lesson that never if you choose to be a town manager, goes on forever. So we have a very nice summer building over on Mumford Road that we have made, I think, livable and workable, and have some nice services in it. But it's a false equivalency to say that senior center and that senior center. It's a multi-million-dollar building that South Kingston invested in. And when you do look at the website has a myriad of services and classes and courses and advice that, per Stanley, we don't want to duplicate. We want to take advantage and leverage across the two communities. If I've understood this conversation properly, this is a true-up. So we have been paying an amount, and there was a deduction in that amount last year. And though the numbers may not be printed on a page, I think Mr. Manny just went through the financial analysis of how they came up with the dollars that would be necessary to fairly fund our senior citizens there. So, big supporter of this. It would feel ironic tonight when we did help to true up a third-party road company to the tune of $500,000. I'm hoping that we don't come up short on the $40,000 that would, that would solve this problem, and the conversations that can go on in the future with the memorandum of understanding can probably create even a better shared services. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Ma'am.
Good evening, council members. Terry Murphy, Director of Leisure Services for the town of South Kingstown. Thank you for hearing us out this evening. One of the clarifications or a little more detail that I would like to provide to give you an understanding of some of the programs and the statistics, because I know there is a need for data. Every year when we present to the town of Narragansett, we actually show you the breakout. I understand the last year's issue with the nutrition program still being in the budget. The way that was presented was because there was still a 30% contribution in terms of the number of meals served. To 30% were Narragansett residents for the town of Narragansett. What I'd like to focus on, though, and this was some clarification over the summer that I talked to my manager about and also sent off to Town Manager Tierney, was the idea of service units and the number of service units that are provided to Narragansett residents and South Kingstown residents, and how they break out to get a better understanding of the percentages. And this goes back to July 1, 21 to 22, which is the snapshot of time that we used for the 22-23 budget, which we're in now. For South Kingstown, the number of service units provided, and that means one person comes to the senior center, they may go to a program, they may go to the visiting nurse, they may go to the community information specialist. Each one of those visits is a service unit. In this time frame, this year time frame, there were a total of 14,647 service units to South Kingstown residents, and that is the equivalent of almost 60% of all service units. For Narragansett residents, 8,313 service units were provided. That equated to 34% of all of the service units provided in that time frame. So to take out the numbers of actual, somebody had asked about how many per day. Well, we could go back and run an attendance sheet for every single day and provide that, but I think it's a little easier to see when we break it out by service units, because there are so many different things that are offered, and while it might be 5 people, there might be 50 service units in the course of a week. I do have that information, happy to share it again. It's in letter format. We drill down on the budget numbers. We do use a data management system, so we are able to cull the information and break it out by residents. We try to provide that.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Terry.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Mr. Friday?
Good evening, Rupert Friday, 113 Montauk Road. I'd like to make 2 points. One is that I think this is one of the rare times that I'm in agreement with Stanley. And the other is, I think collaboration between Narragansett and South Kingstown on this and many other issues makes a lot of sense. I know as a Narragansett resident, we go to South Kingstown's libraries. I'm sure they come to our library. And I think people don't see the line there, people that live here. We see it as a community together. And I think there's an opportunity to work with them on many other issues, such as short-term rentals and student rentals, where I think we have common ground. So anyhow, I support this initiative.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Okay, any last comments from the council?
Sure, just one last thing. So this is to reconsider the budget year that ends, what, Chris, in 2 months from now? So this is money, these are services that have already been rendered. And then we will have, at our budget, we'll be asking the same question, do we want to go ahead and fund, hopefully after the agreement has been set. But I believe that the speakers here tonight have made a lot of great sense. We've already used these services, and our seniors deserve to be able to have this paid. Mr. Manning made the statement that there may be a non-resident status put on to any Narragansett resident senior that goes into the senior center, should we not be able, and although I don't take that as a threat by him, I take that as a town manager looking for, to make sure his tax base is protected. I don't know that I would want to ask our seniors to have to pay more when they go to the senior center that they've enjoyed for years.
Anyone else? Councilor Kopech?
Okay, I agree that that's a good point. I would also just say that I don't know if there are duplicate services between the two towns, and if there are, what we do about that, because we should. I mean, if we're going to work in tandem, it has to be in real tandem, and I just have no idea whether we do or we don't. So that's a little bit of a problem. And I didn't really understand that you were asking for, but you did say 2022. It says the 2022-23 budget, right? I didn't actually realize that that's what you were asking for, was to true up this year, this almost done year. So that's actually different from what I was thinking. This is a very difficult issue, because the fact of the matter is that I don't think there's anybody on this council who wants to in any way shortchange any of the seniors in our town. One of the things Karen said that was, that I think is important is the fact that we don't provide necessarily the appropriate amount of transportation. But again, I don't know how much that is. And the other thing that I've been thinking about is that we've never, at least not in my 2 terms, term and a half, whatever it is so far, we've never asked the seniors what they would like. And I think one of the first things we need to do is survey the seniors in this town to find out what services they're looking for and how they use the services in South Kingstown and Narragansett, so that we have a clear understanding of what it is that we need to do that supports them. And I'm not sure we have that information at this point in time either.
So,
Councilor Cicely Bonanno?
So just to share, Deb, Narragansett was doing that with the Narragansett Senior Advisory Committee. We were in the middle of, before everything stopped, we were in the middle of talking about finding out with the Narragansett seniors. So I know that is something that we'll be continuing to do an assessment to ask them. But I'm going to support this tonight. It's a tough one because we look at the needs we have, but I look at the relationship. We have tons of relationships with South Kingston, and so I think that's important. And I think when they do the memorandum of agreement, it has to be really clear, like if we don't want to duplicate programs, the opportunities on both sides, and maybe we can, build our side a little bit stronger. I don't know that we'll ever get to the South Kingston empire that they have around the seniors, but we'll use it.
And we probably don't need to.
Right.
I mean,
And
I think
so-
it's just,
So I am going to support it. It's a tough one because we did not the last council, and it's kind of like but I understand the difficulty of tonight's position, so thank you all for being here, and what you said matters.
Nice to see you.
Counselor Ferrandi, any final thoughts before?
No, I'm all set.
Okay. Okay. So my thoughts are, like, I think the memorandum of understanding is the first step, and so that's definitely the right direction. We definitely need that in place. As far as, from my perspective, I may be the outlier here. This was, for last year's budget, and which we're closing in on. And I do want to see conversations moving forward. I do want to see our seniors, having the programs that they want. I want to see, like, Narragansett's community center, have more offerings. I also, think it's an opportunity going forward to discuss the budgets in the future. But currently, I'm not going to support this tonight to plug in that hole from the last budget. And we've already, had that budget discussion last council term. And again, I was on that council, and I did hear the data. I would like to see more data going forward, but as of this time, I'm not satisfied with the numbers. So again, I'm going to be the minority on this one. So we can take the vote. And again, this is a motion to reconsider the South Kingstown appropriation budget request for the 2022-2023 budget for the senior center. It's not having anything to do with this budget that we're planning going forward. We will be discussing that at the next meetings and public hearings. So
Council President, would it make sense then for us to change the recommendation to actually say to fulfill the appropriation request of the $101,134? Should we change the motion to include that?
Could I ask for one clarification that that just keeps kind of going around in my head? See, I am a senior. The issue about the supplying of food, of meals. It was listed in the information that we received last year in order to make our determination. So if I understand, I'm sorry, I don't need to turn my back on you folks. If I understand, what I heard was that there was some misunderstanding, but I'm not sure I'm clear on what that misunderstanding was. Did we not understand what it was we were being asked for, or was it an incorrect dollar amount? I don't get it. So, and my vote here depends on that. So I need to understand, if there was an issue with meals or there wasn't an issue with meals.
I'm going to turn to Mr. Tierney first to discuss that.
The council was given the standard letter from someone seeking the special appropriations. South Kingstown sent one in March of 2022, and in that they broke down the total amount at $101,134, $60 for the senior center, and $41,134 for the senior nutrition program specifically.
Okay.
In that letter of request that was provided to the entire council, the council was aware that we had adopted a congregate meal plan.
Right.
And in South Kingstown State, they recognized the fact that the town, Narragansett, had introduced a congregate meal plan, but in that regard, we understand that the funding request may be reconsidered, but requested it, and then Ms. Murphy came and also spoke at the work session.
So the congregate meal plan was not fully funded, or it was funded federally? That's what I'm not clear on. So was it not? I mean, was there a decrease, or was there an amount that the towns were required to provide at that time that doesn't exist anymore, or how did that work?
The town had just started their own in June of 2021, and it was a new program for us.
For us, right.
Correct.
But I mean, but there's a part of the cost, part of the funding that was requested by South Kingstown was related to that process. So but does that mean that we had people going to South Kingstown? Does that mean that there was and I know that your costs include, service that's different from the actual cost of the meals. Was it just that piece wasn't clarified? Is that the issue? I just don't understand.
I'll let Mr. Manny come up describe that.
Thank you, Jim Manny, South Kingston Town Manager. I'll speak in plain English so that
Good.
we all can understand.
Thank you.
So, South Kingstown, the fair share cost last year was $106,000 in 22-23 this year. That was the number we would have given you based on a percentage of the residents of Narragansett that went to SK. They lowered the cost to $57,000 because they added a cost of the share of the meals on there. That should not have been done. They shouldn't have done it. The meals are free.
The they means who? Us? You?
No, we.
Oh, you did. Oh, I see. Okay.
South Kingston. So when I became the town manager about a year ago, Jim Taney, town manager Taney and I go way back. We go 40-something years. And I sat down with him. We both had hair back then, by the way. But I sat down with him and explained this to him, and he understood. So honestly, if I was in your shoes, the town council and the manager, I probably would have done the same thing. Because the meals are free to us. Even if we pay to serve them and wash the dishes and the forks and everything else, it doesn't matter. It's the fair share cost of all the programs. They should have stuck that $106,000 number. But, you know, I'm not saying it was anything trying to cover anything up. It's just that's how they coded it last year. But that number consistently for the past 20 years has always been that 80, 90, 100, 101, 102, 96. It's going to be 96 next year we asked for based on the percentage. So I understand where everyone's coming from, but we still need that $46,000 or we're running a deficit and we have to come up with the money somewhere. That's really what it comes down to, because the town of Narragansett offered $55,000 this year, took $46,000 off based on what they thought was money for the meals. So once again, I hope I didn't confuse you, but it's the fair share cost last year was 106. They cut that cost to 57 and added money that they perceived as, you know, could have gone towards helping with serving the meals. It should have just been 106, and we corrected that now. It's the fair share cost of everything, excluding the nutrition program.
So why was it more last year than it will be this coming year, this past year?
Because there was more people, because of COVID, the percent of people that were going there was, I guess, was more, but it's based on the percentages. I think the director stated 34% last year. This year it's down a little, and it might even go down a little more. So, and the explanation I got from the town manager was that, you know, the town of Narragansett started their own meal program. That's why they cut it. And, you know, we looked at the numbers. We had 1,500 people go from Narragansett to South Kingstown in that year, about that. And the number I got from Ms. Flint was about 17 came from South Kingston to Narragansett. So the numbers were much lower.
Thank you. So does council satisfied with all the conversation and information provided? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we'll take a vote on this. All in favor?
So we have to change the motion?
Oh, yeah.
So can I draft it up? Would that be okay, Council President?
Yes. Amend the motion.
Yeah, to change the motion to that the town council grant the request, the appropriation request from the 2022-2023 budget to South Kingstown for the sum of $101,000, 134 for services for Narragansett residents.
Okay, motion by Councilor Lawler. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Nay. Motion passes 4-1. Going back to the original motion, motion as amended, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? No. Motion passes 4-1. So it was motion by Councilor Lawler, second by Councilor Ferranti.
And one other thing to add in, since the two gentlemen have known each other since way back when they both had hair, maybe we can also, the dollar amount, the $46,000, maybe there's a way we can do it in sums, since this is right at the end of our budget year. Maybe we can do a portion now, you know, work with us a little.
We had spoke about that, and the town of South Kingston recognizes, we appreciate what you're doing, first of all, but the town of South Kingston would allow, you know, if we do a 3-year MOU, whatever that tenure is from this point moving forward, we can spread it out over that time.
Perfect. Thank you.
Ms. Tara, does this conclude the agenda item with the, it's correct? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you. Welcome to the council. Hey, President McEntee, welcome council members. Okay, so moving on to the next agenda item from the town council. It is a motion to approve the purchase of a dedicated fiber optic connection with Cox Business in the amount of $10,200 annually with a 3-year agreement and transmission equipment from PMA Industries Incorporated in the amount of $3,360.25 and authorize the town manager to sign the agreement with Cox Business after review by the town solicitor.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Okay. This motion comes from President Pro Tem Lawler.
So what this motion will do is it'll bring PEG TV back to Narragansett. It will give a second option. During the pandemic, PEG TV closed down, and so we were not available to have the council meetings be conducted over television. So people couldn't sit back in their lazy boy chair and watch the town council. What this will do is allow that to happen in conjunction with the current YouTube Live. And I have to thank Dan Holland a lot for this motion, for doing the research, for finding a way to do it so cost effectively. This is just going to increase the amount of people that are able to watch government, which is good.
Any other comments from the council members? Councilor Kopech?
Well, it's Cox is going to be, Cox Business is going to be doing the work, but this is going to be going for public access.
No, I understand that. I just, I have like PTSD from Cox, so.
I remember that.
Yeah. So I just don't know, so this doesn't have anything to do with Cox Cable. This is people, because I actually went into, my own way of getting access and, was able to download the PEG TV on, on my own brilliant television. And so the point is that it doesn't matter what kind of television service you have, you can go and use this, is my concern.
Gets back onto the PEG TV.
And there's no other provider for this besides Cox, I assume?
It's a fiber optic?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Although you guys aren't too happy with Verizon these days, right?
Mr. Tierney, do you have that? Are you familiar with that, or would we like to get our IT guru to answer that for us?
Available on any cable provider.
Okay, yeah, okay.
And Dan had researched this one for one that would actually work through the state MPA as well, so we can move quickly with it.
Well, I wish us all the luck in the world.
Thank you. Any other council members wishing to comment on this? No? Okay.
One question, does this
Sure.
include the
Councilor
boards
Burke.
and commissions?
This is for the town
Oh,
council.
okay,
Yes.
that's fine.
Well, we have planning board and zoning board that now can YouTube.
YouTube, right. Yeah, that's good, thank you.
Yeah, so I actually, the last council had also moved forward and had requested this too, so this is similar to what we've tried to do in the past, so we've figured out a way. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Holland, for figuring that out. So it's great for transparency and for our individuals who want to watch it and, real time and on the TV. It's a great opportunity, and that's what we used to do in the past, so I do support this. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item? Okay. All right, so with that, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? No. All right, motion by Councilor Lawler, seconded by Councilor Ferranti. Motion passes 5-0. Next is a motion to adopt a resolution restoring the term lengths for the Towers Committee. Just as a quick kind of brief synopsis, there's been...
Can I move it
Oh,
forward
sorry,
quick?
yep.
I'll move the motion.
Second?
Okay. Okay, so just discussion, this is coming from me. And this is just as a brief overview here. There have been several changes to the term limit, the terms, the amount of years for terms over the past several years. And a lot of them, when they were in the form of resolutions, as we know, a resolution doesn't usurp the town charter. So it's just correcting that. So that's just really, in essence, what it's doing. Any discussion from the council?
So I agree that this is really confusing, because I went back and looked at it, because on board, it says that it's a 3-year term. So that was one thing. Then I went and looked at the history of everybody who's ever been on the Towers Committee, and some of them were 3, some of them were 2, some of them are weird. And, I mean, even right this minute, we have people who are serving 2 terms, 2 years, and others that are serving 3. So it just is so illogical. I mean, I have no problem with doing this. I think it's a good idea, but I don't know how that ever got past us.
Yeah, that's
really
like
strange.
several, so 2012, 2019, so lots of change, 1991, 2012, 2019, so just want to correct it. Any other council members have any questions or discussion on this?
Yeah, I just have maybe more of a
Council Brandy.
question. So the three-year terms are out on all the committees, or just this one?
This is fixing this one. So this is the one, so if you read the blue sheet, the summary sheet, it just talks about how,
Did we pull this motion?
no,
No, we
that's
pulled
for
the-
the
we pulled the one
members. This isn't the motion we
The
pulled.
one after.
So getting back to your question, Councilor Ferrandi, so this is, so states the Towers Committee was formed in 1991 by the Narragansett Town Council by resolution, which also set the member terms as 2 years back then. And then on July 16, 2012, the Town Council approved charter amendments. So here's where the charter came in, changing the term lengths for boards, commissions, and committees to 3-year terms with a limit of 2 terms. So we've discussed this in the past, which that was the referendum and that was the amendment. So so actually when we voted on November 6, 2012, the voters of Narragansett voted in favor of the change of these amendments. So we had a charter commission, and then these recommendations voters voted for that. And then on May 6, 2019, the town council approved the length of terms for the Towers Committee by resolution to be 5-year terms, which is a violation of the town charter, as terms are defined by 3-year terms. So here's where the issue came about, was that a resolution was trying to change a town charter, which it can't. And then the resolution before the council restores the Towers Committee to 3-year terms to be in compliance with the town charter. So that's the explanation of it.
Okay, so it's at 3
But just
years.
to clarify, that we do have boards that have 5-year terms because they're state required.
Yeah, it has to do with that.
Planning, zoning, and there's one more, too. There's another
Yep.
one.
So
3 years.
by general laws, it's actually, obviously, that's the exception. Any questions from the public? Mr. Wojciechowski.
Sam Wojciechowski, 1044 West Neck Road. I'm all for term limits to get everybody's input throughout the years. However, in this case, the Towers Committee have done such a fantastic job in their management. I think he's got a fund balance, and they made it through. I think they know how to operate, and so it doesn't cost the taxpayer some bucks, compared to Sunset Farms, which I think is maybe in trouble a little bit. They can't book or something. I don't know what the problem is. If I got a staff that is doing a good job based on finance, obviously they're doing a good job what they do, I'd like to keep them as long as possible. So in this case here, term limits, I would rather apply it to a failure of operation somewhere. If it's failing, never mind term limits. I want them out of there, or move them quickly, so you can find a person who can figure out how to make it profitable. We want to make these things profitable, and Towers has done that. So I don't want term limits, or I want to postpone it. I want a special executive order to postpone it at this time until we see a problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask our town solicitor, Mr. Davis, to comment on this, and this is the town charter. It's in our charter, which is our Bible, if you want to just speak to it that way. So your thoughts on that, because you did have the advice on this one.
It's quite simple. If you're going to amend the charter, there's a process for amending the charter. Amending the charter through resolution is not the proper way to do it. Therefore, the resolution that was passed changing the term lengths was improper, This is just restoring it, and if the town council wants to change the terms, or the length of the terms, they can do it by properly modifying the charter. So this is just undoing something that was done improperly.
Any other questions from the council? Anyone from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. Okay, is motion to adopt the resolution, motion by Councilor Lawler, seconded by Councilor Kopek. Motion passes 4 with 1 abstention, 0 opposed. All right, next up on the for the town clerk is a motion to reappoint 2 individuals to the Economic Development Committee for a 3-year term to expire on April 1st, 2026. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, at this point, we're going to take nominations for any appointments or reappointments.
I have a nomination. Donna Vignali.
Any other nominations?
I have a nomination for Paul Zonfillo for reappointment.
And I have a nomination for June Youngs.
Okay. Any other? I guess that's pretty much it, but okay. Okay, so discussion on why we're nominating these. Councilor Cicilline Bonanno, why would you like to?
Donna Vignali is a full-time resident in Narragansett. She's a retired school teacher from Connecticut, but now living in Narragansett. Very much wants to get involved in the community, has a ton of experience with the leadership. She was the president of her teachers union when she was a teacher. She's worked on legislation, on an advisory board. She's been pretty active in the community and has a wonderful background, so I think that she would be a fabulous addition. She's a team player. She works well with people. I serve with her on the Rotary as well, and she's going to actually be the next president of the Rotary Club. But she gives back, and I think she's a positive energy, and certainly we need that now more than ever in the town of Narragansett.
Thank you. Councilor Ferrandi.
Thank you, Eva. Nominated Paul. He was an original member of the latest iteration of the Economic Development Committee. He's also a graduate of the Northeastern University Innovation Program. And I think he brings a lot of the new cutting-edge technology to the town. I think he's got some good business experience out in the business world, and he's been an asset to the committee.
Councilor Kopek.
So my nomination is for June Young. She's a relatively recent resident of Narragansett, but she has a great deal of experience. She was a senior executive with a number of major companies. Let me see what she said. She's very interested in working on, issues that are financial in nature. She has the background for economic development, information and knowledge, and I think she would be an excellent addition to the group.
Okay, thank you. So would anyone like to discuss them in general? We do have 2. We can start off with nominating 1, or we could just kind of discuss them all as a group. I actually, from my perspective, with the Economic Development Committee in the past, it was decommissioned. We brought it back last year. To me, it was really important to get the correct individuals on it because we really need people that focus on economic development. That just doesn't mean like small businesses, real estate. That means like bringing in businesses and having a vision. So I know last term, there were like some of the individuals that may have been on there may have not been the right fit and skill set. So when I look at these nominees, I always look at, is this the committee that they want to be on? Do they have the right skill sets? If there's individuals who are interested in being on other committees, then maybe like I kind of put that like aside and think like, okay, maybe going forward, this person may be a better fit for this. So I do think the skill sets when I reviewed the candidates that were nominated. Or I thought that Paul Zanfrello would continue on this. He does have a vision for the town and wants to kind of steer this committee in the right direction. And then I was really impressed with June Young's her resume and her background and her acumen. So those are my thoughts on those two individuals. And when I looked at Ms. Vignali, I know her, she's a wonderful woman. She's also interested in many of the other committees that we have. So I see her as, from my point of view, as being able to serve on an upcoming vacancy on another committee.
Madam President?
Yes.
The town charter requires that anybody serving on the boards and commissions be an elector of the town. So if somebody is registered to vote in another jurisdiction, they would not be qualified to serve pursuant to the charter.
I don't think that there is, Mark, that there's a requirement. I believe it's preferred. I believe for planning and zoning, you have to be. Well, the town council in May 17th of 2021 appointed Joe Lembo to the EDC, and he, during the conversation they had, he was not a town resident and did not vote in town.
Ms. Taro, would you like to
So
comment on
that
this?
same charter revision that is in the process of being codified has the very first sentence in it that to serve on the board, you need to be an elector.
Okay.
But
Is there
did you say
someone
has
present
been
who is?
codified, or?
It's not.
Well, June Young's
doesn't
is,
have-
she has a residence in East Greenwich and also in
She's
Narragansett.
moved full-time to Narragansett.
Yeah, she's living in Narragansett now.
I think with the point that Mr. Davis is trying to make is, are you stating that the individual has to be a registered voter to be considered for a committee appointment? Is that correct? Okay, that's what he's stating. And then Ms. Taro, is that what you're also, your interpretation, or what the actual rules are? Okay.
So for this one then, for June, because it sounds like we have a consensus that she was an excellent candidate. I didn't get a chance to speak on her yet. I'm actually the council rep for the EDC, and I spoke with June at length, and she actually attended one of our EDC meetings, and she's anxious to get on board. Her credentials are incredible. She's just recently retired from CVS, or she's the vice president of corporate logistics. She's worked for Hasbro, for Nabisco. She brings the business knowledge and strategy that we so desperately need for this committee that is trying to be able to find a couple projects to succeed in. And it sounds like she's moved here and maybe she hasn't registered to vote. So if we could just pull her nomination off and table her to the next week, have her register to vote here. I mean, if that's all that's keeping a really incredible qualified person from being on the EDC, it seems we should just do that.
I know, but we want to go by the rules, and if that's the rule, as much as I liked her resume too, I just don't think that's the right thing to do at this moment. If she's not a qualified candidate, and as much as I liked her resume, I think we have to go with that.
So we also don't have to appoint two individuals. We can appoint one and then hold off, like a lot of times too. And I look at things like I reach out to community members, and that's why I pulled the Towers Committee agenda item, because I did solicit, actually I did ask really great individuals that they were interested, and they subsequently applied or will be applying to a lot of these boards. So I want to be able to have this committee be a really strong committee. It's a very important one. It was important to me last time, which is, why we wanted to get the right individuals on. So I would be personally just fine just appointing one individual tonight, holding off, and then when we bring back maybe another, in the future, if we do get applicants, and maybe trying to talk to members of the community who have these strong skill sets in, business acumen and economic development, because we have a lot of very talented individuals in our community, and sometimes it's just the ask. It's people do feel honored when they do get asked to be serve on a committee. So that's kind of my feelings on this. But Do any council members have anything else to add?
Yeah, I am so thrilled that I put a motion on the last term to start up the EDC again, so I'm thrilled about that. And I value the leadership in the group, and I know Bretta has been the chair, and she did send us all communications about attendance, and we did get Paul Zanfrillo's attendance, and it's been really poor with some additional comments about the work of the committee. So I definitely am not in favor of reappointing Paul, and I would certainly love to have Donna as a part of it. And I don't know that we should go with June right now because she's just not a qualified candidate. As much as she has experience, she doesn't meet the criteria. But I'm absolutely against Paul's reappointment.
I have to say,
Councilor Ferranti. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Councilor Ferranti.
I'd like to make a motion now to appoint Paul Zanfillo for reappointment.
Okay, there's a
Call the
motion
vote,
on the table
please.
to reappoint Mr. Zanfrillo. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion.
discussion, yeah. Yeah, I would like to comment. So one of the concerns that I have is that I know we have a requirement for anyone who is absent for 3 consecutive times, that they are to be brought to our attention, and we generally dismiss them and bring in somebody else if they do not have an excuse. There were five absentees for Mr. Zanfrillo in about 7 months, of which 1 was excused, and I'm very disappointed in that, to be honest with you, and I don't understand how that wouldn't sort of qualify in the same way as our other rule. It seems, I don't know why somebody wouldn't explain why they weren't coming to a meeting. I've been on how many committees and boards since I started here, and I have missed meetings, but I have never not let someone know that I wasn't going to show up. So, and in one instance, it actually caused, lack of a quorum. So I think that's, that's not what we want from the people who are doing this work.
Any other discussion? Okay. Motion on the table to reappoint Mr. Zanfrillo to the Economic Development Committee for a 3-year term to expire on April 1st, 2026. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion by Councilor Ferranti, seconded by Councilor Lawler. Motion passes 3-2. At this time, would anyone like to nominate any other individual or just hold off?
I'd still like my nomination for Donna to be up in front of this council.
I'd like to hold off on this. If we have someone, I believe when the last council, when you had the chance to, not that he's here and I hope he doesn't get embarrassed by this, but you had the chance to put Dennis Lynch on the EDC, and you didn't.
How is that relevant?
That was a tough one. I know that the councilors flanking me right now were in favor of that. I think we're up tonight at the same point. We have another person with the same type of qualifications that we could put on an EDC, but we just need to wait.
Okay, but we do have a motion to appoint Donna Vignelli by Councilor Cicely Bonanno. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Councilor Kovac, so we need to vote on it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Nay. Motion by council to appoint Ms. Donna Vignelli by Councilor Bonanno, seconded by Councilor Kopak. Motion fails 2-3. Okay, lastly on the agenda, we do have an executive session scheduled. So it is a motion to retire to executive session of the Town Council in accordance with RI General Laws 42-46-4 and 42-46-5A2 for the purpose of litigation, specifically Atlantic East Limited versus the Town of Narragansett Planning Board. And this is a roll call vote.
I'll make the motion.
Oh, actually, sorry, motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lawler, seconded by Councilor Ferranti. And roll call vote.
Jill Lawler, aye.
Deb Kopic, aye.
Steve Ferranti, aye.
Eva Drzezinski, aye. Motion passes 4-0. Okay, so we will come back to disclose the executive session votes after we're done with our session, and then we will adjourn. Stand by.
I don't even want to sit down.
Caleb, are you all set? Okay, so we are back from our executive session. Oops, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, okay. Just a false start. Okay, back from executive session, disclosure of executive session votes. There was a motion made by Councilor Lawler, seconded by Councilor Kopech to seal the minutes. Motion passed 4-0. And there was a motion to exit and reconvene by Councilor Lawler, seconded by Councilor Ferrandi. Motion passed 4-0. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, I'll just say Counselor. All in favor?
I'm going to let Deb make the motion and have Steve second it. How about that?
I don't care.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion to adjourn by Counselor Kopech, second by Counselor Ferrandi. Motion passes 4-0. Good night, everyone.